It's time to get my watermelon sugar high. Look at Brian. Right, watermelons into sours. We've already done a raspberry Berliner Weisse and we really loved it, and apparently YouTube really loved it because I think it's like our most watched view or most viewed video in such a short period of time, whatever. Anyway, the idea is we're gonna do it again, but with watermelons. So, we're going to whack a whole bunch of watermelons into a Berliner Weisse. We're gonna turn it into a sour, and we're gonna show you how it's done. So, let's get to milling, shall we? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Super simple grain bill for this one. It's literally just 2 kilos of wheat malt and 2.25 kilos of ale malt. So super easy grain bill, almost half wheat. That makes it a Berliner Weisse. It's a wheat beer that's been turned sour. Let's whack these in. And while we're doing that, oh, also worth pointing out, we are gonna use 250 grams of rice hulls. So these guys over here. Again, if you're not familiar with them, these are basically just a lautering aid, so it really helps all the grains and the water flow through all the grains, especially when you're using like high amounts of wheat and oat, that sort of thing. So, useful if you have it, not really that necessary. Let's get crushing. There we have it. So, we crushed our grains at a 1mm gap between a 3-roller grain mill. I recommend like something basically the width of a credit card. So slip a credit card in between the grain mills, don't turn it on or you'll forever lose your card. But yeah, that's kind of the width you're looking for. Generally, that'll give you a pretty good crush. Anyway, let's whack this stuff into here and we're not gonna forget our rice hulls as we do this. Let's mash in. We are gonna be mashing at 66 degrees Celsius for 1 hour for this one. So very easy brew day so far. Voila. 15 liters of mash water, by the way. Forgot to point that one out.
You're gonna boil the bag, mate.
Yeah, boiled plastic. Haven't you heard? It's delicious.
Yeah.
All right, let's mash in, shall we? Every time I do this, I really do need to get a tiny mash paddle for this thing. This little...
Just get a wooden spoon, mate.
Honestly, you could just use a wooden spoon or like a whisk or like a big spatula. This is just the most oversized paddle for this thing.
It can't fit. It can't fit.
It can't fit. It's alright, I'm used to not fitting.
No, you can't even get in regardless.
It's not what your mum said last night.
Oh! She didn't feel anything. That was you in the cupboard. Crying.
Wearing a Superman outfit.
Oh, no.
Alright, we are just about done with that now. So we're going to add our top filter on and start recirculating this stuff. Where did I put it? Here you are. Ow! Where's my gloves? Let's see if this works. Yeah. Close enough. Holds it. There we go. Okay, we'll just start recirculating this. We're going to let this mash for 1 hour at 66 degrees Celsius with 15 liters of striker water, and then we'll come back at the end of that to start adding, to start doing our sparging. You spin my head right round, baby, when you go downtown. All right, we are done after mashing in at 66 degrees Celsius for 1 hour, so it's time to lift this thing up and start sparging. So pop off, stop the recirculation. We're gonna let all of this drain out and then we'll start sparging with water at 80 degrees Celsius. So we're gonna use 20 liters of sparge water for this one. So end goal with this should be about a 4% Berliner Weisse sour. So a much more drinkable ABV than the raspberry one we made last time. Anyway, let's get into it, shall we? So let's take this thing off. It's already having, it's already got quite a nice color on it actually. Gonna come and have a look. Yeah, a little bit cloudy with the wheat, but not too shabby. It's actually quite clear.
That's what we like.
I like it. I like it. I like it like that.
Got any watermelon dad jokes?
No. All I can think of is that, do you remember when Vines were a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, all I can think of is that Vine from like 15 years ago when the guy's on the motorbike and he's like, they got helmets on their heads. I got a watermelon instead.
This is the most beautiful day. They got helmets on their heads, but I got a watermelon instead.
He's got a watermelon on his head.
We'll play it.
So this is just about finished draining out now, so we can start running our sparge water over the top of our grain bed. And the whole idea here, if you need a brewing, is just to extract all the sugars basically, because all that grain bed grains. Basically, the grain bed acts like a big sponge, so yeah, you've gotten a lot of the sugar out of it, but if you run some hot water over on top of it, you're just gonna help squeeze out a little bit of extra sugar. So just makes your brew day a little bit more efficient. So we're just gonna drop a bit at a time, 20 liters at 80 degrees Celsius over the top of this and let it drain out. Rinse and repeat until you're finished with your water. So curiosity's getting the better of us. We're gonna take a cheeky wee little sample here and find out what we're rocking.
Show it to the camera.
Very cloudy, very, very cloudy. So ordinarily, I would be a little bit unhappy with myself if this was the result I had after sparging, but this is a wheat beer. It's like 48% of the grain bill is wheat or something along those lines. So I really don't mind that much. And fuck, that's hot. I'm gonna take a little cheeky taste. It just tastes like sweet water. It just tastes like sugar water. This kind of like malty sugar water. That's all I'm really getting, to be honest. It's nowhere near as complex as like any of the stouts.
Hot!
Yeah.
My hands!
Like the stouts are like super complex when you... Fuck. The stouts are all like super complex when you taste them, like straight, you know, off the mash, but yeah, it just tastes like sugary water. Anyway, it's good. We'll see what it ferments like. I'm gonna whack that back in.
You wanna test the...
Yeah, I'll test the gravity. So, I was just saying off camera that this sample is probably not gonna be super accurate because we took this from the bottom and there's still wort dripping from the grain bed to the top and it hasn't all mixed together yet because we haven't run a pump through it all. So, this is gonna be higher in gravity than what it actually is, but at the moment, yeah, it's way higher. So this is saying 1.058. I know that there's no way that's true. This is gonna be around 1.0. It would probably be around 1.04 right now, 1.038, something along those lines. So anyway, I'll take another sample after we start recirculating this a bit. If you haven't actually seen these before, if you use a BrewZilla, you can get these boiler extensions, which are super useful for A, just increasing the size if you want to do bigger batches, but B, for moments like this where our wort level was right up at the top. So as soon as this starts boiling, that all would have boiled over. So really useful to have these extensions to prevent boilovers and save yourself a big mess. So if any of you are interested, we'll drop a link below on where you can get these things. But yeah, they are very, very good.
Kegland, you watching?
Kegland, are you watching? Send me more shit. All right, we are up to boiling temp now. So start your clocks. We are adding 8 grams of Northern Brewer hops. So just a little hop addition, just to give it a touch of bitterness, but really the star of the show is going to be the sour flavor. So add those bittering hops in now, start your clocks, and we'll come back in 45 minutes to add our whirl flock and our flavoring hops. So we'll see you then. Okay, we have now got 15 minutes left in the boil, so it's time to add our booby little friend here, our whirl flocks. So they go in, as well as our 25 grams, I believe it is, of Huell melon hops. So they go in as well. And now we've got 15 minutes left of this, then we're gonna go flame out, start whirlpooling, cooling it down, and whacking it into the fermenter. So super quickly on the hops, basically it's a sour, it's not a hop forward beer, but similar to the raspberry sour we made last time, we figured the Huell melon would just be a nice contributing flavor to this style of beer. So we're going for a lot of watermelon sweetness and the sour and everything. The Huell melon will provide a lot of kind of tropical and melon, like rock melon type flavors. So we figured that would work pretty nicely. I'm dying. All right, it has now been 1 hour, so it's time to flick off all of your power sources and go flame out. So hook it up to whatever cooling system you're using. We're using our trusty old Counterflow chiller. So get it hooked up, start cooling it down, and get this down to yeast pitching temperature. Once you are there, it's oh, a couple of the hops didn't make it in. Whirlpool hops now. Once you're there, it's time to start yeast pitching. So this is going to take a little bit of time today because it's a hot day in Sydney and ground temperature water is going to be pretty high, but we'll see how we go. Anyway, let's hook this up. Come on. Oh, it's not on. It is on.
Oh, what?
I'm so confused. Oh, there we go. All right, we're good now. I have no idea what just happened.
It wasn't on. Let's see. Ooh. Nice.
Cool. There we go. Look at all the hot break. Alrighty, so that's brew day almost done. From here, we're just gonna be, yeast pitching temperature. The yeast we're using today is once again, Philly sour. So we really loved the results with this last time. So we're gonna give it another crack. At some point, we are gonna do a kettle sour, but for today, the whole idea was making a really easy sour recipe with a shitload of watermelon. So Philly sour to the rescue. All right, so we are almost down to yeast pitching temperature, but there's only so cold that we can seem to get this because it's like a 32-degree day here or 35-degree day in Australia at the moment. So I can't get my wort that cold. So we're gonna start transferring this into the fermenter, and it might be a matter of letting it cool down a few more degrees to get to yeast pitching temperature. At the moment, it's sitting at about 29. I'd be happy to pitch the yeast at 25. So we'll see how we go. We'll transfer and then we'll pitch shortly. So we were having an issue trying to cool this thing down, and then we remembered that we have a lot of really fun stainless steel toys. So we've taken the chiller coil outside of our baby tank there, and we whacked it into here, and we told the glycol chiller to stay on. So we're now cooling the plastic bucket with the glycol chiller, which is awesome. So now we should be able to cool this thing down to about 25 degrees for pitching temp, and then we'll whack our Philly yeast in there.
Tricks.
Absolute hacks. All right, we'll take a quick gravity reading on this one now. And see where we are at. 1.037, I think. So that will give us about a 3.5% sour, I think, at the end of this. Maybe 4% counting in the sugar that's gonna get fermented from the watermelon. Something along those lines, a 3.5 to 4%, which is kind of bang on the money. So I'm happy. It's gonna be a very smashable beer. Yes.
Yep.
It's hot. All right, we are now down to yeast pitching temperature thanks to a little help from our baby tank there. So it's now at just under 25 degrees Celsius. I have got a new toy that I want to play with. I've got a little magic wand. It's an Aeration Stone. So this is just basically a little aquarium pump. It goes through this little filter here to get rid of any impurities in the air, out through a carb stone, which is just gonna aerate our wort. So instead of using the big paint mixer like I was doing before, we now have this little new toy to play with. We can just pop it in there. Let's go there. Then we turn this thing on. And yeah, as you can see, all those like bubbles and stuff forming. It's just pushing heaps of micro bubbles into the micro bits of air into the wort, which is just gonna aerate it. So now when we throw our yeasties in there, they're gonna have plenty of dissolved oxygen for a nice healthy start to fermentation. So worth getting one of these things. It was only like 25 bucks. I'll put a link below. There we have it. Long day, hot day, but we are done. So I've let this little aerator run for about 1 minute. More like 2 minutes, to be honest. And I think that's more than enough. We've got heaps of foam coming up, almost coming out the top now. So I reckon that's plenty of aeration done. Now, just time to pitch. So we'll whack our little Philly yeasts in there for their final journey. Do me proud, young ones. Now, we can seal this thing up. And the next time you see me will be in about a week and a bit, we'll come back to do our dry hopping. So just a massive fruit puree edition of a shitload of watermelon. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Brew day done. We'll see you in a week and a bit when the gravity is around 1.012 sort of thing. I reckon that's when we'll throw in that watermelon. So we'll see you then. So it's a week later and we did miss that gravity of 1.012. We're actually sitting at, I think it's about 1.009. So, whatever, doesn't matter. Week later, all fermentation is basically done. My guess is we'll drop one final gravity point with this thing if we left it alone. But we're not gonna leave it alone. We're gonna add a whole bunch of fruit. So, we have got basically 7 kilos or 8 kilos, I think, of watermelon, more or less. We're gonna slice out all of the flesh, then we're gonna puree it up. We'll weigh how much flesh we're actually throwing into this thing. And yeah, let's get our watermelon sugar high. Man, imagine if I chop my finger off right now.
It could be wrong.
Suddenly, we'll become a popular YouTube channel. Yeah. Guy cuts finger off on video.
It's kind of cool filming people cook and stuff.
All right.
Maybe that's my life's calling. Hey, mate. Yeah. How juicy?
I think what I'm gonna do is, so normally when you cut watermelon, you're like trying to get, you don't want any of the white stuff in it, but you like cut close to that. I think I'm gonna shave off a bit more of it because that, like the closer you get towards the skin, it starts losing the sweetness and everything. And we don't necessarily want more volume, we want more of the flavor. So I'm gonna cut off like a thin layer of the outside. So hopefully we can avoid just that, I don't know, that part of the watermelon that's just a little bit flavorless, because watermelon, like it's gonna add a lot of liquid to this fermenter. So we want that flavor to be concentrated. We don't want it to just add volume for the sake of adding volume, if that makes sense. So how does that part taste now? Yeah, it's sweeter. Okay.
It's like carving a deer.
Like Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
First time we eat Tywin Lannister.
Yeah.
All right.
Exactly the same.
Exactly the same. I'm a man just like he is.
Yeah.
Why should a lion worry about the cares of the sheep?
Jesus.
Nerd alert.
Nerd alert.
All right, let's start throwing this into you guys. This is a severely inadequate tool for this much watermelon. Need a big blender. Oh well.
Industrial grade. Ooh.
Yeah, and yes, if any of you are wondering, we could just like chop this up into chunks and throw it in the fermenter, but we're trying to squeeze all the flavor out of it. And the best way for the flavor to get into the beer is for it to be liquidated. So let's blend. Now, I actually forgot to weigh the jug beforehand, so we're gonna do a reverse weigh. I'm gonna weigh it now, and then we'll see what it is on the negative weight, like after the watermelon's out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They know what you mean.
I just made it more complicated than it needed
You weigh
to be.
what it is, and then you weigh it
Alright.
after, and you mind.
Here we go. So, this is almost 4 kilos on the nose. Wow.
That's kind of what we wanted.
That is very close to what we wanted. So I'm guessing it's going to be like 3.9. I think the jug's about 100 grams.
Yeah.
So let's take this off and be nice and quick about it so we're not exposing it to too much air. And bottoms up. Oh, we've just made it.
Nice.
Oh, that was all a part of the plan. I told you.
Yeah.
We're just talking
We
off
were
camera.
not freaking out.
Yeah, I was convinced that this would not fit. Okay, and now it's that. So I'll do maths in a minute when I don't have to think
Well,
too
it's
hard.
3.3.
It's basically 3.65 kilos.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
that was a 7.
Okay, so 3.65 kilos
Yeah.
in the end, if
Yeah.
my maths is right.
Nice.
Anyway, that's it. So sour, watermelon sour brew day done. Super, super easy sour to brew up. We don't know what it's going to taste like yet, but that will be in next week's video. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time. Brew on.